It's gonna be okay, sweetheart. We're almost there.
The rain hammered against Elias Chen's apartment window as he sorted through another stack of overdue bills. His phone buzzed with another job rejection, the 7th this month. At 42, divorced, and barely scraping by as a freelance translator, he'd become invisible to the world. Just another face in the crowd, another story no one cared to hear. The knock came at exactly 9:47 p.m., as it had every Tuesday for the past month. Elias knew about the alien woman. Everyone in the building did. She'd been making rounds through the neighborhood for 2 years now, always with that small green child clutching her hand. The news had covered her story initially. A Zarathian refugee whose ship had crashed near Denver, one of thousands who'd arrived after the Galactic Council had opened Earth to interstellar immigration. But the novelty wore off quickly. Aliens were everywhere now, working in restaurants, driving cabs, trying to build lives in a world that had grudgingly accepted their presence, but refused to truly welcome them. Most people pretended not to be home when she knocked. Others opened their doors just wide enough to say not interested before slamming them shut. Elias had watched from his window countless times as she walked away, her shoulders sagging with each rejection, her daughter's large eyes reflecting the streetlights like pools of liquid amber. The knock came again, more hesitant this time. Elias stood, walked to the door, and stopped. His hand hovered over the deadbolt. Every instinct screamed at him to stay quiet, to wait until she left like all the others did. He had his own problems. He didn't need to take on someone else's burden. But then he thought about invisibility, about being the person everyone looked through instead of at. He opened the door. The Xarathian woman stood in the hallway, her green skin glistening with rain, her silver hair plastered to her elongated skull. She wore a threadbare jacket that had probably been donated sizes too large for her slender frame. The little girl, no more than 5 by human standards, peered out from behind her mother's legs, clutching a stuffed bear that had seen better days. The woman began in heavily accented English, her voice musical despite its shakiness. I am sorry to disturb. My name is Zara'ith. This is my daughter, Lena. We need. She stopped, her violet eyes filling with tears. In her 4-fingered hand, she clutched a crumpled piece of paper covered in human writing. Come in, Elias heard himself say. Zara'ith's eyes widened in shock. You invite us? It's raining. Come in before you both catch cold. He stepped aside, his heart pounding. I don't have much, but I can make tea. They entered slowly, as if expecting the invitation to be retracted at any moment. Little Lena left wet footprints on his worn carpet, her eyes taking in every corner of his small apartment with wonder. Zara'ith remained near the door, trembling. Please sit. Elias gestured to his couch. I'm Elias. Elias Chen. As he prepared tea in his tiny kitchen, Zara'ith began to speak. The words tumbled out like a dam breaking. 2 years of silence suddenly given voice. Her husband had died in the crash. The human authorities had processed her as a refugee, given her temporary documentation, and released her into a system that wasn't designed for people like her. She'd found work cleaning offices at night, but it barely covered rent for the condemned motel where they lived. Lena needed medical treatment. Something wrong with her respiratory system, made worse by Earth's atmosphere. The free clinics couldn't help. The medicine required authorization that her refugee status didn't permit. I have knocked on 347 doors, Zara'ith said, her voice breaking. I show them this paper, a petition for medical asylum. It needs 5 human signatures to be processed. In 2 years, I have received none. She handed Elias the paper with shaking hands. I do not beg for money. I do not ask for charity. I only ask for signatures, for someone to see that my daughter exists. Elias looked at the document, then at little Lena, who had curled up on his couch, exhausted. Her breathing was labored, each inhale a visible struggle. "Why?" Zara'ith asked suddenly. "Why did you let us in?" 347 people said no. "What makes you different?" Elias sat down across from her, the tea growing cold in his hands. "Because I know what it's like to be invisible," he said quietly. To knock and have no one answer. He thought about his ex-wife who'd left without looking back, his daughter who never returned his calls, the employers who never even acknowledged his applications. He'd been knocking on closed doors for years, just in different ways. "I'll sign," he said, "but that's only one signature. You need 4 more. Zara'ith's expression crumbled. "I know. I have tried everywhere. Humans do not." "I know people," Elias interrupted. "Not many, but some. My neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez. She's too old to answer the door quickly, but she has a good heart. There's a guy at the coffee shop who always talks about doing more good in the world. My sister, we haven't spoken in a year, but she's a doctor. She'd understand." He pulled out his phone, already scrolling through contacts he hadn't called in months. "Give me a few days. Let me try." Zara'ith stared at him as if he'd spoken in an alien tongue. "You would do this? For us?" "No," Elias said, signing his name on the form with a borrowed pen. "I'm doing it because it's right. There's a difference." Over the next week, Elias became visible again. He knocked on Mrs. Rodriguez's door and waited patiently while she made her way to answer. He spent an hour at the coffee shop explaining the situation to Jake, the idealistic barista. He called his sister for the first time since their father's funeral and asked for help. He was rejected twice. The coffee shop owner refused. His college roommate hung up on him. But 3 people said yes. On Friday evening, Elias called Zara'ith to his apartment. She arrived with Lena, both of them looking exhausted but hopeful. He handed her the petition, now bearing 5 distinct signatures. "Submit this Monday," he said. "Mrs. Rodriguez knows an immigration lawyer who'll help file it properly." Zara'ith looked at the paper, then at Elias, tears streaming down her green cheeks. "I have no words in your language to thank you." "You don't need words," Elias said, smiling at Lena, who was now playing with his collection of translation dictionaries. "Just when your daughter is healthy and you're settled, and you see someone knocking on doors everyone else has closed, answer. That's all the thanks I need." As they left that night, Elias stood at his window and watched them walk down the street. Lena was skipping, her mother's posture straight for the first time in 2 years. His phone buzzed. A message from his sister. "That was a good thing you did. Maybe we should talk more often." Elias smiled. Sometimes all it took to stop being invisible was to see someone else who was invisible too. Sometimes the most human thing you could do was simply open the door and say, "Come in." The rain had stopped. The street lights glowed warm against the wet pavement. And somewhere in the city, a small alien girl breathed a little easier, carried forward by the simple act of 5 people who chose to see her when the world looked away.